Hey everybody, it's Saturday. What a difference a couple of days makes, and thank you to the Elon Jet out there. Let's break it all down. There's a lot of stuff to unpack. About 45 nuggets in 23 minutes. That's the plan. So let's go and not waste any more time. The market cap is 2.09 trillion. When I did this a week ago, it was 1.9. So we've added, $20 billion of market cap just in a week, which is good. Bitcoin is hovering there just under 60K. And Bitcoin dominance, 56.5%. So let's go and not waste any more dominance, 13.9%. Wow, under 14. I think that's a new record. Fear and greed is back to 50. Wow, that was extreme fear a couple of days ago. So everything's changing real fast. But today we're going to talk about big ETF inflows. We had the best day in over 2 months, which is bonkers. And we'll talk a lot about disruption and adoption and some crazy news in crypto, as well as a couple of price targets. And let's jump in. Not financial advice, of course, as well. Let's look at where we are so far in this September. Yes, it started off bumpy, and yes, we had a bumpy August, but maybe the V that I expect in September is happening a little earlier than expected. This is the last week in crypto divided by Bitcoin. ETH beat Bitcoin by 8%. Sol beat it by 10%. Avalanche beat it too by over 10%. Same with Near. Some other stuff was down, of course, Cardano, Tron, etc., Binance, Ton. But anyhow, let's look at dollar terms. 59,900, just shy of 60 grand right now as we speak. And hello to everybody in Sweden and Belgium and Spain and Liverpool and everywhere. And ETH 2,400 and Sol $137. Still down off the highs like most things, but the end of the year is going to be a great run. And that is pretty much certain. Let's look at the Bitcoin black hole and find out what's going on over there. First of all, from James Van Straten, he sees some divergence between liquid and illiquid supply, which is pretty dramatic. Now, if you break this down, so Bitcoin circulating supply is about 19.7, 19.8 million Bitcoin. Of course, 5 million are lost, as you know from me. Illiquid supply, 14.6 million. That's about 73%, 74%. Then you have your highly liquid supply, about 5 million Bitcoin. But now we're seeing a massive divergence. Look at the blue line tanking and the black line going to the moon. The black line is illiquid supply. The blue line is liquid supply. And we're seeing this divergence. And again, as illiquid supply is rising, as more coins are being held, reducing market liquidity. And this trend contrasts sharply with early 2024, when Grayscale Bitcoin Trust sold off a ton of Bitcoin, and that increased the liquid supply. And we'll see where all this goes. But having this illiquid supply, or the liquidity ratio, under 0.25, these coins are effectively, the long-term, the illiquid ones are removed from circulation. And those people are typically not selling. Either way, good times. No supply crunch, as we covered earlier this week, because the OTC desks have a big bag. But with the rate at which people like Sailor and others are buying, who knows how long that'll last. Also, the miners are hodling as much as they can. Let's talk about the record-breaking day. Best day in over 2 months happened yesterday. Bitcoin ETFs saw 263 million in inflows yesterday. I'll break all that down in detail in a second. And that's the highest in 2 months. The tides are turning. Fidelity, nearly 1,700 Bitcoin. ARK, nearly 1,500 Bitcoin. Bitwise, 713 Bitcoin. Big, big day. It all happens fast. Yes, TradFi. I made a joke yesterday. They sold the bottom really well. But then they're like, no, we shouldn't have sold. Let's get back on the train. And that's the frenetic behavior. And in investing, it's very important to be consistent and stable and not in, out, bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish. That doesn't work. You need to have a plan, stick to it, always. Let's look at what it looked like. We had the big green day yesterday, and we had a $400 million week so far. Not bad. Bit of a turnaround. So September is not as bad as people expected. Let's look at my charts. The best day in over 2 months. It's hard to see it there because ARK and Fidelity are kind of covering each other. And of course, BlackRock is still not in the picture. Last 14 days, 2 days, slight dumpage, 0 buys. Which means, as I've said since January, February this year, market manipulation games are happening. You can't do $1 billion in volume and not move at least one Bitcoin. And it's getting to be a little bit egregious. We'll get to that in a second as well. And we are well above trend yesterday. That's the big spike. And 4,400 in Bitcoin were absorbed. That's 10 times the daily issuance. Now, what everybody all of a sudden is up in arms about is this. And I've been talking about this since January 2024, so if you watch the channel, you know about it. But here, from the Bitcoin Therapist, rumors are circulating that Coinbase is writing Bitcoin IOUs for BlackRock, and they are suppressing the price. Da-da! Is this possible? I wish they'd all publish their addresses. That's why I say go with Bitwise if you want to buy this ETF, because they are transparent and they give back as well. The question is, what type of shenanigans are happening behind the scenes? We don't know. But the SEC, if they were doing their job, which we'll get to as well in a little while, they'd be on top of this. But of course, they're not. And this is the whole criminal enterprise that is the world we live in. So anyway, enough of that. Let's move on. Let's talk about AI. AI is back this month for the first time in a long time. Crypto AI is now the hottest category over the last 30 days, up 10.9%. Bitcoin over the last month, up 3.7%. Ethereum down 6.5%. And the second best category is data services. And third is oracles, things like Pyth, and then DeepIn fourth. Think of those narratives, everybody. Stress the narratives. Follow the money. The two big monster narratives, of course, are AI and crypto. And then within that, you get the sub-narratives. That's where you want to be. DeFi, AI, that type of stuff. Okay, let's look at the big chains as well. This is a bit of an eye chart, so let's try blast through it real quick. And we look at TVL. TVL change, pretty much flat. If you're zero, you're good. SUI is flat, etc. So we'll give that to SUI and Matic. Zero TVL change. The rest were negative. If we look at stablecoin, winner is Solana up. And we look at weekly commits. Solana was up 24%. SUI up 34%. So a lot of development activity. And Optimism 52%. So a lot of good dev activity there. And Cosmos is always up, but nothing really ever happens. It's a weird thing. Weekly active developers, you can see Cosmos up 114%. They win that. Number 2 is Optimism. And daily active addresses, the prize will go to, let me see, Toncoin up 12% in terms of daily active addresses. And of course, Solana up 2%, SUI up 11% as well. Daily transactions, the winner goes to Toncoin up 14%, Solana up 10%. And SUI down 18%. Interesting contrast actually there. You see the daily active addresses up 11%, but the daily transactions down 18%. Tells me something funky could be going on. So, well, that's the roundup of top L1s, L2s for the week. Now, a little bit of history. Somebody spent 600 ETH. This is the value of this JPEG back during the last bull run, and it was sold for 10 ETH today. So, if you hold your value in NFTs, you could lose 98%. Be careful. Be careful. I'll say no more on that subject. Also, it'd be interesting to contrast the price of ETH during this time frame too, because it's probably under what it was back during the last bull run. Also, more Hopium headlines. A video would not complete with that. Hopium shot. This is from CoinGape, and Solana set to hit $1,000 because whales are buying. And there's a lot of stuff happening, and there's a lot of disruption happening in the chain that's going to interrupt other chains. It's already happened. The big migration, what I call black hole for years now, is underway, and they believe the same thing. I don't think we'll hit $1,000. If it does, we're all buying desert islands. So anyway, enough of that. Also, another Solana news, Solana Wormhole, partner up. They expand World ID to Solana via Wormhole. And WorldCoin's World ID promises real human verification for Solana developers. This is kind of always I thought of a scary project. But the point of this is chains are going in much now, cross-chain, multi-chain, whatever you call it. And that drives much more adoption for projects. So you see a lot of this happening right now. You've got projects launching on one chain, discovering it's going nowhere. So then they diversify into other chains, which gives them a bump. And of course, WorldCoin W is the ticker for that, surge 10%. I do not own that one. Also, September. Going to talk a bit about kind of macro and markets and all the crazy stuff that's happening. But September so far is very excited about rate cuts, which I'll get into in a minute too. But this week was bonkers. Nvidia up 16%, Microsoft 7%, Google 4%, Meta 4.6%, Amazon nearly 9%, Tesla nearly 10%, Apple flat. So crazy, crazy times out there. So far, the theory was we had the carry trade reversal early August, 5th of August, market tanked. And then the V-shaped recovery of that was stunning, spectacular. And now the market's excited for the rate cuts. The question is, will it be a buy the rumor, sell the news, or will it just be bonkers from there as everybody gets out of the heavy, heavy deposits in treasuries and money markets and deploys into risk assets? It could be a great Q4. Also, energy storage ripping higher. Bloomberg is even seeing this. The cumulative size of battery projects installed and under construction around the world are growing at a rapid clip to 120 gigawatt hours. And of course, we know who the leader is in this segment. Yes, it's Tesla. And I put together my Tesla valuation model just on megapacks alone. And I calculated that the megapack alone business should be worth a stock price of $2,478 in the year 2032. That's from my Tesla valuation model. Crazy to think just the energy business is worth more than 10 times the stock price today. But that's how important this is. We have free energy. The world needs more energy, more clean energy, but they need a way to store it. That's why this is a very hot area, and energy storage is one of the 4 S-curves we talk about a lot on this channel. Now, let's talk about some other stuff. Oracle had their Oracle Open World event this week, and you can see Stephen, the Sion, I think, the SVP at Oracle, posted this video of OPS, Tesla Cybertruck. So they were very happy to announce that they have seamlessly integrated their OPS into the Cybertruck. And they've mounted Starlink Mini on the back as well. So this is not only a cop car with everything bulletproof, etc., integrated with the security system, Oracle's dispatch command center, etc., seamlessly into the screen. And of course, Larry Ellison and Elon Musk are very good friends, and Larry Ellison is a very big bag holder. But that shows you the synergy between Oracle, who built a lot of core dispatch systems for police stations and cops, etc., integrating into vehicles with Starlink on the back. So it's just, that's the synergy. That's sometimes 1 + 1 + 1 = 5 or 10. Thank you, Ben Hart, as well, for coming. Also, this is just, when I see things like this from Bloomberg, I get a little bit irate, but it'll backfire as well. And I'll tell you why it's going to backfire. But you see here, Bloomberg had this little sensational headline. Thanks to steep discounts, leasing a new electric car can cost less than a premium Netflix subscription. Oh, look at this. You can lease a Cybertruck for $20 a month. No, you can't. It'll cost you over $100,000 to get one right now. And there is no lease even close to that. Leases are in the thousands of dollars for the Cybertruck. And yes, they're sold out. And there's a waiting list of 2.5 million people on it. But Bloomberg have to, of course, create a sensational headline and litter it with pictures of Teslas. There's a white Model X in the back, Cybertruck in the front, Model 3s all around. They're trying to gaslight you to think you can lease a Tesla for $20 because they're crap. But guess who's going to have the last laugh? Ta-da! Elon is, and Cybertrucks are smashing it. The sales of Cybertrucks for Soria Merit are up 61% month over month. They've delivered over 5,200 Cybertrucks in July. August will be even crazier as well. So expect that. But it's not just that too. One of the reasons why media hates Elon so much is he is crushing their business model, just like impacting energy storage and everything else. Disruption everywhere. X grows 22% year over year. And mainstream media said X is dying. It's going to be dead. Nobody's going to go to it. And 22% doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. That's, hundreds of millions of users. And why do mainstream media, and sorry to be on this little rant, why do they hate Elon so much? Is because their business is shrinking. People are going direct to sources. You have individual podcasters that used to work for MSNBS or whatever, CNBS, all these BS channels, ABS, or is it ABC? I think it's ABS. everybody is on to the lies now, and they're going direct to sources. And that's why mainstream media is shrinking by 14% per year. So don't believe it. And another truth coming true, the Roadster is real, from Nick Cruz. This is not an AI image. This is the new Tesla Roadster. And it's been seen on the roads September 14th, 2024. And it looks pretty sick. So this puppy will do 0 to 60 in under 1 second. And I'm thinking, okay, F1 fan here. This thing is going to be faster than a Formula One car. It just shows you the disruption is going to disrupt everything, which is, for the petrol heads out there, it's interesting. And back to Australia, shout out to all the Australians here on the channel. 3% of Australians now use Starlink, not just cop car Cybertrucks with Oracle technology inside. 3% of all homes in Australia now use Starlink, up from 2.5% just 7 weeks ago. People that live off the grid, doing a very clever thing, by the way, now can be connected all over the planet. And there's more. South Africa is going to get internet Starlink as well. Thank you, Clancy, up there in Canada. SpaceX is now holding talks with the South African government to introduce it to the Africa's biggest and most developed economy. So that is exciting too. Everybody needs access to information at a very low price and free. And another Bitcoin news too, getting back to Bitcoin and talking about all the disruption that's happening. It just came to light yesterday that SpaceX owns $500 million worth of Bitcoin, 8,300 Bitcoin. Not bad, not a bad size bag. So again, this thing is scarce. There's only so much to go around and everybody wants it. And as we said before, July Cybertruck sells 5,200. All other electric truck companies combined only sold 5,500. We're talking Ford, we're talking Rivian, we're talking the Stellantis stuff and all the other things, the brands I'm not really aware of, but that is stunning. And this thing is just ramping up. They're spitting these things out every kind of 90 seconds in Texas right now. It's insane. Now, getting back to macro news, which is going to be great for our risk assets, the CME. I have never seen such a swing in a 48-hour period in my life. This thing went from 16% chance of 50% basis cut 2 days ago, and now it's 50%. The chief economist at JPMorgan Chase on Friday reiterated its call for half a cut next week. Next week, can't wait, leading to a volume surge in Fed funds futures that would benefit that outcome. And JPMorgan is the lone large Wall Street bank forecasting half-point cut, but so are the CME futures. Citigroup had the same forecast until Wednesday, but they cut it. But Citigroup don't even know which way is up. So either way, it's looking very probable. And with this momentum going from 16 to 50% in 2 days, next week, I forecast is going to be higher than 50%. So watch this space carefully. Now, a little bit of government news and Intel news as well. My son says, should we look at Intel? Well, I don't think Intel is good enough for the market, but it certainly is good enough for the government. Intel solidifies $3.5 billion deal. Basically, the government has given Intel a $3.5 billion grant to build chips for the Pentagon. More handouts. Great. I believe in free markets and no special favoritism, but that's just me. What do I know? But let's talk about governments and handouts and where we are in terms of the budget today. Remember, this is kind of interesting. You take in $2 trillion in taxes so far this year, and you spend $6.3 trillion. That's not really fungible. I don't include the Social Security and retirement because that's kind of kicked out the other side, but you can see that that's all going to go away anyway in time. And then there's a lot of talk about raising corporate income taxes. The corporate income taxes only put a 6% dent in the outlays. And this is the same all over the world. It's US budget data, and I'm sure if it was published in other countries, you'd be horrified as well. It's not sustainable. Let's talk about why we Bitcoin. And again, I shared this on Discord this morning. If you can't explain it simply enough, you don't understand it well enough. This is the easiest thing in the world to understand. You take in $2 trillion in taxes, you spend $6.3 trillion. That is bonkers unsustainable. Enter James Lavish, friend of the channel. USA is becoming the new Zimbabwe. With the way it is spending, someday in the not-so-distant future, the only buyer of U.S. debt will be the U.S. government itself. Imagine printing money and then paying yourself and buying your own debt. It's kind of ridiculous, but we are edging ever closer to the Zimbabwe moment. And that is where we are. That is the interest rate, the interest expense going to the moon. If that was a stock, you'd be very happy, or a crypto asset. Anyhow, and I forgot to put a title on this, but you get the idea. It's called B. In the month of August, the U.S. government took in $307 billion in taxes and fees and spent $687 billion for a deficit of $380 billion. This works out to be exactly that annualized deficit of $4.56 trillion, which is reflected here. 6.3 minus 2, you get the math. Crazy, crazy, crazy how this is actually happening. Now, another little bit of good news, and again, just shining a light on some basic facts. This took a lot of people by surprise this week as well. This is the SEC, and this from Crypto for Light. So all of the so-called crypto securities drama was just random. To dump or pump some coins, perhaps. When the SEC talked about securities, they never meant that tokens were actually securities. The regulator regrets any confusion and promises to avoid using the term in the future. Sorry, everybody, we didn't mean to call crypto a security. Our bad. We need to have better people in government. How do I say that? And somebody had their dreams dashed with AI. This is, I don't know who this is, an author and video game enthusiast, Joanna. Her AI dream was dashed. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing. Well, AI, I'm afraid, is going to do your art and writing. It already does, so you're going to have to get an Elon Optimus bot to do your dishes and laundry when the time comes. But you better write as much as you can now and try to get some money for it before it's too late. So you can afford that bot. And in commodities news too, this is kind of crazy because we're seeing very low inflation all around the world. A lot of it is driven by the cheap commodities. And the commodities are the cheapest they've been since the 1970s compared to the S&P 500. Now, they will turn up. Things like copper, oil, all these things will get more expensive, and that will increase inflation again. So let's hope the Fed can get their rate cuts in before inflation goes up, but then hopefully they can exclude commodities from the number that they use in their analysis to project and calculate inflation. That's the story today, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow noon for live Q&A, where I take all the top questions from you all over the week. Thanks all for coming, and Diego, thank you too. Yeah, it's shocking the type of stuff that's happening in today's world. As you say there in the chat, it is a clown world. And hopefully it'll become better before it's too late. So thank you all for coming. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.